I want you to do something a little radical right now, like wherever you are listening to this.
Yeah, just take a second.
Exactly. I want you to literally unclench your jaw. Just let it go. Drop your shoulders.
Most of us don't even realize we're tensing up,
Right. And look, I don't care if you just finished, a grueling 12-hour shift on the hospital ward, or if you just stepped off a loud, dusty job site.
Or even if you're just mentally exhausted from staring at screens all day long.
Leave it at the door. It's over. You are officially entering quiet mode. So just take a deep breath.
That's the baseline we need for this.
It really is. And now I want you to look at the phone sitting next to you, or maybe the smartwatch on your wrist. Every single time that screen lights up, every time it buzzes, it steals exactly 23 minutes of your life. Welcome to the deep dive.
It really is a staggering number to confront when you put it like that.
23 minutes
Yeah.
from one buzz.
Yeah, because we tend to measure interruptions in like the seconds it takes to glance at a screen, right?
Whoa!
We completely ignore the massive cognitive debt we incur the moment we look away from our deep work.
And that cognitive debt, that is exactly the central target of our mission today. Okay, let's unpack this. We are exploring The Sovereign Architect's Guide by Chillstar 08.
Specifically, episode 6, which is titled Deep Work Dynamo, How to Finish Your Week in 4 Hours.
Right. And if you remember in our last deep dive, we talked about installing the drawing those boundaries and reclaiming your personal space.
But clearing the space is just step one. It actually reveals a much deeper, much more intimidating problem.
Yeah, the void. What are we actually supposed to be building in that silence we just fought for? Because if we don't have a blueprint, the noise of the world is just going to rush right back in to fill it.
Oh, for sure. We have this natural horror of a vacuum. The second our schedule opens up even slightly, our instinct is to pack it with activity.
We just have to be doing something constantly.
Exactly. We are culturally conditioned to equate motion with progress.
Yeah.
But Chillstar 08 introduces a really brilliant distinction here. She talks about the trap of idling.
I love this concept so much. Think about a car engine, right?
Mm-hmm.
The engine is running, the pistons are firing, it's burning through all this expensive fuel, making a ton of noise and vibration.
But the car is in park.
Yes, it isn't going anywhere, and that is what most of our daily quote-unquote busyness looks like. We feel incredibly productive because we are in constant motion.
Right. You check a text message while you're sitting at a stoplight.
Or you answer a quick email while walking from your car to the front door. You stare at a spreadsheet on your laptop while, your family dinner is sitting right in front of you, literally getting cold.
And that right there is the illusion of productivity. You end your day feeling physically and mentally depleted because you were constantly doing something.
So you didn't actually do anything that matters.
Exactly. If you step back and evaluate your legacy, the deep, meaningful work, the art, the business strategy, the relationships.
Right, the relationships that actually move your life forward. None of it progressed. You spent 8 hours idling. You were everywhere, which means you were truly nowhere.
Man, that hits hard. And this brings us back to that terrifying 23-minute statistic from the research she cites. I don't want to just gloss over this.
No, we definitely shouldn't.
Because understanding the mechanism behind it is crucial. Why does a 5-second distraction cost us almost half an hour?
It basically comes down to how our prefrontal cortex manages working memory. Your brain is not a computer processor that can just run multiple applications in parallel.
Right. We can't actually multitask.
Exactly. When you are doing deep work, say writing a complex proposal, your brain loads this massive fragile web of context into your working memory.
Like holding all the pieces of a puzzle in your hands at once.
Yes. You are holding multiple variables, ideas, tones all at once. So when your phone buzzes and you glance at a text from your partner asking about groceries, your brain is forced to execute a context switch. So it has to dump all the proposal data just to load the grocery data.
It literally flushes the working memory buffer, yeah. It has to process the new rules and the emotions associated with that text message.
Wow.
And then when you turn back to the proposal, you cannot just pick up where you left off. Your brain has to laboriously rebuild that entire web of context from scratch.
Oh, I hate that feeling. Were you just staring at the screen like, what was I even saying?
Right. It has to retrieve the thread of your argument. Remember the tone you were using, recall the variables. That rebuilding process takes an average of 23 minutes of cognitive effort,
And it burns a ton of energy doing that, right?
massive amounts of glucose.
That explains so much. I mean, that is why people hit 5 p.m. and feel physically exhausted, almost sick to their stomachs.
Even if they've just been sitting in a really nice ergonomic chair all day.
Exactly. They haven't been doing deep work. They've been doing cognitive gymnastics, just constantly flushing and reloading their working memory.
They are burning fuel just to stay in park.
So, okay, let me bring in what I like to call the transformer concept here. Because our focus is like an electrical grid. If you have, 50 browser tabs open, you are leaking energy as raw, unusable heat rather than concentrated light.
That's a great way to look at it.
So if we are all acting like our focus is this cheap renewable resource, how do we stop being what Chillstar '08 calls a subject to the pings of the world? I mean, how do we actually become the architect of our attention?
Well, what's fascinating here is how she frames the philosophical shift we need. She says utility does not equal value.
Oh, say that again. Utility does not equal value.
Right. In the modern workforce, we have been completely conditioned to believe that being constantly available makes us valuable.
Like if you answer a Slack message in 3 seconds, you're the hero.
Exactly. You are praised as a good worker. Or if you jump on a Zoom call with like 5 minutes notice, you're a team player.
But that is just utility. I mean, being highly available makes you a commodity. You're like a human router just passing information back and forth.
And routers are easily replaced. True sovereignty, true value comes from being impactful. You simply cannot make a deep, lasting impact if your attention is constantly fractured by the agendas of other people.
Yeah, when you operate like that human router, you are spending your finite, precious Mondays executing someone else's script.
You're a subject to the pings of the world.
Okay, so we know the biology of why this destroys our focus, and we understand the philosophical trap of, trying to be too available, but how do we actually fix the mechanics of our workday?
We have to build the deep work dynamo.
Right. So think of your attention like water pressure. If you poke 50 tiny holes in a garden hose, open browser tabs, email notifications, group chats.
The water just trickles at the end.
Exactly. You cannot wash a car with a trickle. You're just making the driveway wet.
That's true.
So the Dynamo Audit she lays out, it's about putting a high pressure nozzle on that hose. It narrows the opening to create a stream powerful enough to actually blast through the dirt.
And the first step in that audit is auditing the physical environment itself. She calls it analyzing your signal-to-noise ratio.
Okay, so visualize your workspace right now.
She asks you to determine if it is a sanctuary or a transit hub.
Let's be honest. Most of us are operating in transit hubs. A transit hub is a place of constant arrival and departure.
People walking by, announcements over the loudspeaker, just a blur of motion.
Yeah, and you can't build a legacy in a train station. But we need to push past the basic phones are distracting advice, right? Because our listeners already know that.
Oh, absolutely. Chillstar '08's rule is much more brutal than that. She says if the phone is even sitting on your desk, even face down, it is acting as a parasite on your cognitive grid.
A parasite, just by being in the room.
The research supports this entirely, by the way. The mere presence of a smartphone in your visual field, even if it is completely powered off, measurably reduces your cognitive capacity.
Because your brain is having to actively expend energy to ignore it, right?
Exactly. It is running a background process that just keeps saying, don't check the phone, don't check the phone. That is energy being actively stolen from your primary task.
So sovereignty literally begins the moment you physically remove the device from the room, put it in a drawer down the hall.
Close the door. Make the physical environment quiet.
But okay, let's say you've done that. That doesn't stop your own brain from creating internal noise, right? Like trying to juggle 5 projects at once. How do we fix the internal wiring?
That brings us to the second pillar of the audit, which is the batch wiring rule. This directly addresses the danger of switching fatigue, which we touched on with that 23-minute penalty.
Right, the cognitive glucose burn.
Yeah. When we attempt to multitask, like writing a creative brief, then pausing to check inventory levels, then answering 3 customer service emails.
And then trying to go back to the brief.
Right. We are grinding our mental gears to dust. We are switching between entirely different cognitive states.
Because creative writing uses a completely different part of the brain than calculating inventory, obviously.
They require entirely different operating frequencies. So the batch wiring rule dictates that you must group similar tasks together based on their cognitive load.
Okay.
And you do not switch the current until that specific type of work is completely done. You do all your deep analytical thinking in one high voltage burst.
And then you save all your reactive administrative stuff for a separate lower voltage block later in the day.
Precisely.
It's all about staying in one gear. Like if you are driving up a really steep hill, you don't constantly shift between first gear and fifth gear. You lock into the gear that provides the right torque and you just ride it out.
That's a perfect analogy.
But okay, here's where it gets really interesting. This leads to the third pillar of the audit, and this is where I actually need to seriously push back on the source material a bit. She calls this the zero access window.
Ah, yes. This is usually where the resistance starts for people.
Because it sounds impossible for a normal person. She says you cannot just plan to be focused, right? You have to legally schedule it.
You have to lock in one sovereign hour.
Yeah, 1 hour where you are legally dead to the outside world. No boss, no family, no, hey, do you have a second for a quick question? Just you and the blueprint.
It's extreme, yes.
But let's do a reality check here. I mean, I see how that works for a solo digital entrepreneur or a freelance writer, but what about someone whose literal job description is to be available?
Right, like an IT support specialist.
Or a floor manager, or a nurse on a ward, or even, a parent at home with a toddler. How do they justify just vanishing? It feels like this advice only applies to a very specific, privileged type of worker.
That is the most common and, frankly, the most valid hurdle to this entire system. But we really have to look at how the principle scales, and we have to look at the internal psychology of the worker.
Okay, walk me through that.
First, let's address the context of Chillstar '08's own life. She is not some solitary monk living on a mountain. She is a wife, a mother, and a grandmother.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and she runs a luxury travel agency and a digital marketing business. Her entire professional and personal life is built around communication and client management. She probably receives hundreds of legitimate demands on her attention every single day.
So she is really in the thick of it. She isn't just speaking from some ivory tower.
Far from it. She implements the zero access window because of those demands, not in spite of them. Now, for the IT manager or the nurse, obviously, you cannot vanish while on active duty if your role is acute response.
Right. You can't ignore a burning server or a patient monitor.
Exactly. But the principle applies to the deep work surrounding the active duty, the scheduling, the charting, the strategic planning. Even in highly reactive jobs, there is legacy work that gets pushed to the margins.
That makes sense.
And the challenge isn't just logistical, it is deeply psychological.
It's the internal guilt, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. People feel like bad employees or bad parents or bad partners when they set a hard boundary.
Yeah.
We tie our entire self-worth to our responsiveness. We think, if I am not instantly available, I am failing them.
Man, that is so true. We feel guilty for taking an hour to ourselves.
But setting a zero access window is not about neglecting your family or your team. It is about condensing your high level work into massive, high impact bursts of energy so that you can actually be present later.
Wow. Okay. Consider the alternative. If you don't carve out that absolute focus, you end up giving your family or your team partial fractured attention for 12 hours straight.
Exactly. You are physically at the dinner table, but mentally you are drafting an email.
Or you are sitting on the floor playing with your kid, but you're checking a Slack notification over their shoulder. You are trading constant low quality availability for scheduled high quality presence.
It is entirely about communicating boundaries to protect the quality of the time you do give people. You tell your team, look, I am going offline for 60 minutes to finish this crucial report. If the servers literally catch fire, call this specific emergency number.
Otherwise, I will address all questions at 11:00 a.m.
Right. You aren't vanishing to hide. You are vanishing to get the work done efficiently so you can actually live your life.
Which brings us to the ultimate why behind this entire system. Because once you fight through that guilt, once you build this 4-hour fortress, you have to know what it is all for.
It's not just about becoming a hyper-efficient robot.
No, because if you use these tools just to do more of your boss's busy work or to take on 3 more stressful projects, you have entirely missed the point. You are just speeding up the treadmill.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the destination we are driving toward is a concept she calls passive magnetism.
Okay, break down passive magnetism for us, because it sounds a bit abstract.
Think of it as the gravity your work generates when it is undeniably good. Most people operate with active desperation. They're loudly networking, constantly posting, aggressively chasing clients or promotions.
Just relying on sheer volume to get noticed.
Right. Passive magnetism is the exact opposite. It is the ability to attract results, clients, wealth, legacy, or respect through the undeniable quality of your deep work.
Because you actually took the time to build something substantial rather than just talking about building it.
Yes, when you engage the deep work dynamo, you produce work so concentrated and so valuable that it acts as a magnet. You don't have to chase the market comes to you.
And the ultimate prize of achieving that passive magnetism isn't just more work. The prize is time.
Time is the ultimate currency.
The dream of the sovereign architect is to finish an entire week's worth of business output in just 4 hours. You do this high voltage work often while the rest of the world is literally still hitting the snooze button.
You free up the remaining hours so you can go be a traveler, so you can be a creator.
So you can be a fully engaged grandparent like Chillstar 08.
Exactly. She frames it beautifully in the source text. She says, we wire for silent so we can live in volume.
Oh, I love that. We embrace the discipline of the quiet fortress so that our actual lives can be loud, vibrant, and fully experienced. We are finally taking control of the dial.
But, making that shift from a frantic, reactive employee to a calm, sovereign creator requires a massive shift in identity. You have to tune your mind before you sit down to do the work.
It is really difficult to just sit down at a desk and instantly command your brain to perform deep work, right? Especially if you've spent the last hour navigating traffic and listening to the news.
You need a transition ritual to cross that threshold.
And Chillstar 08 provides something for this transition called the Chillstar's Creed. It is designed to be a grounding frequency.
It really centers you.
Yeah, so I want you, the listener, to use this. I want you to imagine a slow, steady heartbeat in the background. Just a deep, resonant 528 hertz frequency. Just let the frequency of these words settle into your mind before you initiate your deep work. Ready?
Take it in.
I am grounded in peace. I am reaching for my stars. My light is my own. I am a star and I will shine bright. I will reach for the sky. I release what was. I embrace what is becoming.
Using a creed like that is just such a powerful behavioral trigger.
It really shifts your state.
When you speak those words, even just internally, you are consciously reminding yourself that your light, your focus, your energy is your own. It does not belong to your inbox.
This does not belong to the algorithm.
Right. You are releasing the frantic energy of the morning and embracing the sovereign focus of the architect.
So we always want to translate this high-level theory into ground-level reality for you. We don't want you to just listen to this and go right back to idling.
Definitely not.
Here's your 1% install. This is your micro-win to take action on this deep dive immediately. Tomorrow morning, before the world starts demanding your attention, before you check a single news site or open your email, I want you to set a timer for exactly 60 minutes.
Put your phone in another room entirely.
Yes, physical distance. Do not open any extra browser tabs. Pick one legacy task, just one, and flip the switch on your very first sovereign hour.
And be prepared for it to feel incredibly uncomfortable at first. Your brain will crave the dopamine hit of a notification.
Oh, you will feel an almost physical itch to check your messages.
But if you can sit in that silence, if you can endure that initial friction, you will watch the dynamo start to spin. You will enter that flow state, and the old blueprints of hustling and grinding will be completely burned away.
And look, if you want the actual templates to automate this piece, the specific tools and step-by-step guides to build the system out completely and protect your location-independent freedom, you can join the Sovereign Fortress on the Chillstar 08 school community.
All the blueprints are there waiting for you.
They really are.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to explore on your own. We have spent this entire session talking about the mechanics of work. We've talked about condensing your week's output into just 4 hours of pure, undistracted focus. But if you actually achieve that, you're going to be faced with a beautiful, kind of terrifying question.
What's that?
Who are you going to become in the remaining 164 hours of your week? What if your true legacy has absolutely nothing to do with what you produce while you are busy, but entirely to do with who you are when you are finally completely silent?
Wow. Unclench that jaw. Drop those shoulders. Step into the quiet. Go be great and flip the switch. We'll see you on the next deep dive.